Good evening, everyone. Today is October 7th, 2012. Late tonight, 11:14 tonight. Had a bit of stuff actually. I saw some cartoons that I thought were amusing. I'm gonna post below. One of them was it's this guy, a scientist, looking over a microscope with all these, like tobacco interest, food and drug interest, all this other stuff. And the caption was, "Hurry up and find a cure. It's so much easier than prevention," or something like that, with a government agency. And then I was reading this. I found a website that had this bill that was going across for Congress that will make it so information can be kept from the public, basically tests and stuff for the pharmaceutical company. And I was thinking, like, how is this beneficial for us at all as a public? It'll hide clinical data. It'll hide trial tests. It'll hide all that stuff from us for whatever reason, just if a country asks it or a company asks it. So that's another cartoon. And then there was one more. I forgot what it was about, but it's just kind of, it's talking about, it's another one with chemotherapy. There's this guy on the basically sitting there with, he was a cancer patient, with this nurse putting a needle in his IV, and the caption says, "Whoa there, nurse. You got to back up on that, or it'll be the same amount that we use to euthanize horses, the chemotherapy drugs." And it's kind of one of those funny things. So, I'm still reading this book, The Secret History on the War on Cancer, and they were talking about chemotherapy in there and how it came across it. Actually, chemotherapy, I found out, first came from mustard gas. It was a nitrogen mustard gas or something like that. They found out that when tumor cells are around, they put it in a rat, and they give it to this rat, and the rat cell, or the rat tumor, would shrink. And the guy that actually discovered it said, that must have been the luckiest thing in the world, because that was the only rat that we ever found that actually did that. If we would have done it to another thing, we would have just dropped the case there and never even kind of gone through with the chemotherapy research and everything like that. But it's kind of just crazy how things kind of get to where they are today. And reading this book, it's being more and more somber. There was one part of it that I literally stopped reading. I had to go upstairs to check out something. They talk about 1,4-dioxane, which is ethanol or ethyl oxide, or dioxide. So ethyl dioxide, which is a chemical that is in a lot of contaminated in cosmetic detergents and shampoos that contain the following ingredients. So when I read that, I went and looked at it, and it's one of the chemicals that actually is recognized by the U.S. government as a cancer agent in humans, is recognized by the European Union as a cancer agent, recognized by the state of California, and recognized by the World Health Organization that it causes cancer in humans. It's banned in the EU, but it's still freely used here in America and Canada. And the ingredients are PEG, polyethyl glycol, polyoxyl ethyl etha or oxynol. And I went upstairs and I looked at Johnson and Johnson, the little baby shampoo, the No Tears that we give Isabel, or we gave Isabel as a kid, and looked at the back, and the third ingredient was PEG. And it says many products on the market today contain 1,4-dioxane in very small amounts. However, some cosmetics, detergents, and shampoo may contain 1,4-dioxane at levels higher than recommended by the FDA for other products. And this is the craziest thing that I hear. And it says families wishing to avoid cosmetic containing the ingredients listed above may do so by reviewing the ingredient statement that is required to appear on the outer container label of cosmetic off retail sales. Also, families may look for cautionary statements on the labels of foaming detergent bath products with directions for safe use, the need to keep out of reach of children, or the need for adult supervision. So by looking at those, they'll basically say that's where you can find a lot of those cosmetics containing those things. So you got to think of any of the stuff that we give our kids, any of the stuff we clean our kids with, any of the stuff that we wipe our kids' butts with. It all comes from that. And then this book goes on to kind of, it makes a funny statement here. Let me see if I can read it. It says, the FDA recommends that what we do. So in a nation, so basically the FDA goes on to say, and she basically sums it up, in a nation where more than half of all parents work outside the home and barely have enough time to change their children's and their own underwear, the agency charged with keeping our personal care products safe is asking parents to write each manufacturer of more than 200 different personal care products that can be applied to babies' bottoms. What would these letters say? Dear sirs, I note that your product lists the following ingredients in type that I can barely read. PEG, polyethanol, polyethyl glycol, polyoxylethyl etha, or oxynol. Please let me know whether your product has been tested for any of these ingredients as does not contain any 1,4-dioxane at levels above what FDA recommends, even though there is no standard, no monitoring, and no consequence of your not doing so. So it just kind of goes on to show that there's not really companies are just allowed to put this shit in our products with they have no recourse if they do it, and even if we ask about it, they have no reason to come and tell us otherwise. I got a comment from one of my employees, Paul, yesterday on YouTube, and about there. I said, wow, we've been lied to. He said, I agree, Jordan. The typical person is overwhelmed with our daily life of work, 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 go home and drop, which basically gives us no motivation to research or ask questions when we should. We all have become ignorant until confronted, and that's actually I really like that statement, Paul. And that's very very true. And kind of reading this and looking at more and more. I mean, just looking at myself, I could have read this forever ago, but the only reason I read it is because I've ran into this obstacle in my life, and PEG I've heard of before, and I know when I saw it, I'm just like I know that somehow. Looked at our daughter shampoo, and the shampoo that my wife uses, the shampoo that's there, and she's like, well, this isn't. We use this all the time, and it's a known carcinogen. And Johnson and Johnson, I don't care. They could probably sue me, whatever. It's going to happen. They're putting it in their products with and what am I supposed to do? Call them and ask them to test it, and all they can say is, well, we tested it, and how am I ever supposed to know? Where there's no recourse if they lie to me or do anything like that. And by the way, it's a multi-billion-dollar company with unlimited money, and they have, but their best interest is in our kids. I'm just gonna let you guys know that. So, anyway, just the more I read, the more I don't want to say what's a good way to put it? Jaded, but I kind of am. I guess I'm getting more and more jaded by me and Mike and Randall actually were talking the other day of we were saying of all these atrocities that happen overseas and all these things that in Iran the government doesn't let their people think, or Libya or whatever it is, but not in my backyard. It's not happening here, and we just all just started cracking up because it's like, well, it is happening here. It happens here all the time. The who controls who, what controls what. I mean, we all think that for some reason we're the exception. For some reason, Americans are the exception for what's really going on in the world. That we're not the ones being controlled. That it's other people. That we're not the ones being lied to by our own government, by our own media, by our own companies that we believe are best. That McDonald's gives us good advice, or Subway, or any of that stuff. For some reason, we're the exception, which it doesn't make any sense if you think about it logically. Our water's getting worse and worse, getting contaminated. Our air's getting worse and worse. We're dumping chemicals just as bad as any other country out there. We're just told a prettier story, or at least we're led to believe that we live in a better place for some reason, or that we're not part of the world and we're the exception, that we can do whatever we want and we won't get all this. But then you look at heart disease and cancer, and the rising rates in our country, and that kind of goes to prove that, well, we don't know what we're doing. It's not happening in our backyard. It definitely is. Those rates aren't ours, or whatever it is. But just definitely interesting reading. Let's see what on today was Sunday. Me and Paolo went and saw Taken 2, which it was all right. Not too good of a movie, but well, it was worth just going to, just to kill the time and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess the more and more I learn, the more and more jaded I get, and it's the crazy thing is I even went to I'm following the websites and everything like that. I'm gonna add all this stuff that I found below, and all you guys are more than welcome to look. I encourage you to and make your own decisions. At least you'll know. And so yeah. Anyway, I had another point, but I'll think about it tomorrow. So I hope everyone had a wonderful Sunday and getting ready to go to work tomorrow. So you guys all have fun, and yeah, we'll talk to y'all soon. Have a good night.